Hello and welcome to the Sharpening Report. I am your host, Josh Peck. Tonight we have a very special returning guest, Jon Clash, to talk to us about his new book, Law of Attraction, a gateway drug to spiritual heroin. Welcome back to the show, Jon. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, me too. I'm glad to see the book is out. I know it was a long process, but man, there's just nothing better than putting all that work into it and then finally having a book that you wrote in your own hands, isn't there?
Yeah, it was so exciting getting like the proof copy, the one that's got like a line through it so you can't resell it,
Yep.
and like reading it for the first time and then realizing how many more errors are still in it, and then having to go redo it again and get another proof copy. It was such an incredible process, and thank you so much for being a part of that process, writing the forward and just helping me with like the quantum physics chapters. I'm really appreciative of you.
Oh, absolutely. I was happy to do it. I believe in you. I believe in what you're doing, your ministry, your book, all of it. And I'm so glad to have you on. Well, for those who might not be familiar, because you haven't been on the show in quite a while, can you give us some background? What made you want to write this book? And why is this book so important for Christians today?
Right. So, just real quick, if anybody's listening who does not know what the law of attraction is, although I'm pretty sure if they're listening to you, they've been introduced to why they should not believe this already. But just in case there's anyone out there, law of attraction is this philosophy or worldview that says that your thoughts emanate out into the universe and your speech emanates out into the universe. And attracts whatever you're thinking or speaking about into your life. And this is usually promoted as if you're looking for a spouse, make sure that you are speaking about the spouse that you want and thinking about the spouse that you want as if you already have that spouse. If you want $1 million, you can think about $1 million and acting as if you already have it. And the universe has no choice but to respond to those thoughts and speech patterns and bring that into your life, into your reality in the physical realm. So the way that they go about this is they say that this is science, and that since we're all connected to the universe and the universe is connected to us, that we are creating in a sense the universe with our thoughts and our words. So therefore you can use this to your personal benefit to get a whole bunch of worldly stuff out of it. And that's kind of what it is in a nutshell. That's not how they present it. They present it much nicer and much like, hey, this is some good stuff. You should do it. And you should also buy my course to learn how to do it better. That's how they present it. But that's what it is in a nutshell, right? Now, the reason that I wrote the book is because I used to believe in the law of attraction like wholeheartedly. I was all in. I have a chapter in the book titled All In, Baby, just to give you an insight into how all into this I was. So one of the things that they teach is creating vision boards, right? And I think that vision boards are neutral in a sense, because if we're going to go to the extreme of like, do not have any of your goals on anything, otherwise it's demonic, then I can't even put a sticky note up to remind myself to take out the garbage. So,
Right.
let's not go that far. But they teach it to you as if like put all of the worldly stuff that you want on like a poster, and then use that poster to manifest it into your life. So if you can see it with your mind and with your eyes, then you'll eventually see it in your hands in reality. So I really would call them more manifestation boards, right? So I had not a manifestation vision board, I had a mural on my wall. I had a whole wall that had like every sale in my organization, every car that I wanted to drive, a Rolex I wanted to wear. I had a picture of myself when I had six-pack abs because I'm like, I'm going to manifest that. It's funny because they teach you that you don't even have to like have a good diet. You just have to not think fat thoughts, and you could have the body of your dreams, right? In a perfect world, Josh, in a perfect world. So that is in the new heavens and new earth, maybe that's
Yeah.
how it'll be. We'll just have the perfect body. We don't even have to manifest it. It's given to us, right?
Yeah.
But so anyway, I was into it, to say the least. And not only was I into it, but I recruited a whole bunch of people to be into it as well. And I was around a whole bunch of people that were into it. So when I got out of it, and I told people that they need to get out of it, it was like ping pong, ping pong, like it doesn't compute. They had no idea why I was now telling them not to participate in this stuff. And I just got tired of having the same conversations over and over and over and over again. And my wife, who is much smarter than me, says, well, why don't you just write a book and just answer all the questions? So that way, when somebody asks you, you just be like, go read the book. And I'm like, I'm not an author. I'm not going to write this book, blah, 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 blah. And then I wrote the book. So, and you wrote the foreword. So that's how and why I wrote the book. Now, the reason why Christians should not be participating in this, I even feel that people who aren't Christians should not participate in this as well. It's just for many reasons, but from the Christian worldview is that it's rooted in occultism, it's demonic. The proponents of this are proud Luciferians. They believe that if you just read in The Secret, it teaches you that you are divine, that you are God in the flesh, that you are one with the universe and making you God, right? So, and we know that that's one of the first lies ever told, was that you can be like Elohim, you can be like God from the serpent as he was convincing Eve to eat from the forbidden fruit, right? So that's in a nutshell why we shouldn't participate in it as Christians, but just generally speaking, it's just not true. All the things that they teach you is just not true. Right? From philosophically, it just makes no logical sense. The science that they claim proves their point, proves the law of attraction. It's pseudoscience, right? There's a whole scam industry behind it where gurus are just pickpocketing you left and right, dangling the carrot at the end of the guru stick like, hey, just one more course, one more. You're so close to your breakthrough, and then the universe is going to give you everything. And then, of course, the spiritual aspects. So there's just so many reasons why you shouldn't participate in practicing the law of attraction that I think that whether you're Christian or not, if you learn this stuff, you'll be like, yeah, I'm done with that.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned The Secret. Can you tell us about that book and how prevalent is The Secret and the Law of Attraction teaching? How prevalent is this? Because something that I talked about in the foreword is I said, the reason that the New Age is so big, that it's like this enormous thing that's not going to end till like the return of Christ, now. But it started off really small and Christians ignored it as just this stupid, silly fringe thing and didn't bother with it. And then it was allowed to grow and grow and grow and grow. And even today, a lot of Christians, most Christians have some New Age beliefs that they don't even know are New Age. So how prevalent is the Secret and the Law of Attraction in the world today?
So The Secret is still one of the best sellers in its category, and it came out in, I think, 2006. So that says a lot, that if you're still on Amazon bestsellers list, you're cranking out some numbers. I believe when I wrote the book, I think there was like 35 million copies sold between books and audiobooks and DVDs. So that's 35 million people who have bought into this, right? Myself being one of them, and I bought copies for other people too. So I was recruiting. So to say that so The Secret itself is still the go-to when it comes to law of attraction, even though it's outdated. I would say, you watch the DVD of it and you're like, wow, this is definitely from 2006, but it's still something that people watch. I think it's still on Netflix right now, and it's just, it may have lost its initial boom, right? When you had Rhonda Byrne, who was the author of The Secret, when she was on Oprah, and it was just like this whole secret craze. That is over. But the law of attraction has not gone anywhere, neither has The Secret. It's kind of just changed names a little bit over time. If you just type in the hashtag manifestation on TikTok, you got thousands of videos coming up teaching you how to manifest your reality with your thoughts and your words. So it's still very prevalent today. And unfortunately, because it's painted as being science, it creeps its way into the church as well.
Yeah, big time. What are the origins of this? Because I know in The Secret it claims that it's something like 3000 BC or something like that, which, like you say in the book, is a total reach. What are the actual origins of law of attraction and its connection to, well, basically Satanism?
Yeah, so I have a chapter in the book called Satan Equals Bad. It's the third chapter, and I go through the whole entire origins. I'm gonna like condense it, kind of, right? Because they say it's written in stone. I don't know if they're talking about the Emerald Tablet uh, of Thoth that was recently translated by Doriel, who is just a complete scammer, or are they talking about the Emerald Tablet that Newton was looking at? We don't know because we don't have the Emerald Tablets, okay? And that's something that they bank on you not knowing. But they paint the whole as above, so below, as within, so without, and they say that that teaches the law of attraction. I don't know how you jump from that, but when you just look at it, it's it's fairly new when it's painted as the law of attraction as we know it today, right? And new, relatively speaking, okay? So Phineas Quimby, who is one of the fathers of the New Thought movement, he's one of the first proponents of the law of attraction. But the first time the words law of and attraction were ever written together next to each other was from Andrew Jackson Davis, who's an American spiritualist. He's nothing crazy, he's just your regular run-of-the-mill spiritist. But then you have people like Helena Blavatsky who expanded on these teachings, right? And if you look at Helena Blavatsky, I could read you some of her quotes on Satan directly from my book and her mouth. But just you, listener, whoever's listening right now, just go Google Helena Blavatsky's quotes about Satan. And you're going to be like, whoa, hold up. So let me just backtrack a bit. When I first heard about Helena Blavatsky, I was like, I'm seeing all these Christians saying that she's a Luciferian, that she's demonic, that she's a Satanist. And I'm like, look, us Christians, we call everything demonic. We call everything Satan. Like, that's just what we do, right? So I was skeptical. But then when I dug into it and I realized that she even authored a magazine titled Lucifer, in which there was like 2,800 copies made, 2,800 articles that she's written for it, 2,800 she made 2,800 magazines. I don't know why I'm having so difficult getting that out, but she wrote a lot, and in it it was titled Lucifer. Then you have in Isis Unveiled, when she discusses Lucifer and Satan being our actual savior and the highest divine being. Like, you just read this stuff and then you couple that with her hate of Christianity. It's hard to say, oh yeah, nah, this is not really satanic. She's just, one of these, like, she's spiritual. No, she loved Satan and she hated Christianity. Then you have people like Aleister Crowley, who is people say this about him, that what Picasso did for painting, he did for the mystic arts, right? This is somebody who, in his book Magic, has a whole section on the best way to do blood sacrifices. And he says that the best form of blood sacrifices is an intelligent, innocent male. And the best time to sacrifice him is during the supreme invocation, meaning to kill this person at the same time that you're orgasming. Like, these are the people who founded this worldview in the West, right? Who kind of made it popular in the West. And this is the worldview that we're like thinking is nothing but quote unquote love, as New Agers like to say. I'm just not seeing the correlation here with love, unless you think love equals, human sacrifice and blood rituals and hating Jesus and hating Christianity. Helena Blavatsky says she wished that Christianity was just wiped off the face of the planet, So we can go on to like satanic panic and be labeled as, oh, you crazy Christians, but it's not even just us that are saying this. Helena Blavatsky is widely considered the mother of the New Age, right? Then you have Aleister Crowley being propped up as one of the fathers of the modern mystic arts. And then you have Anton LaVey, who is arguably the most famous Satanist. He wrote the Satanic Rituals, wrote the Satanic Bible. He was the most popular Satanist of his time. And he says that all New Age spirituality is trying to play the devil's game without using his infernal name. So it's not just us crazy Christians saying that New Age is demonic, is satanic, is Luciferian. It's Satanists themselves saying this. So it's important to dig into the roots of any worldview that you believe in. And I'm not trying to commit any genetic fallacies here, but if what you're believing is rooted in hate for Christianity, hate for the God of the Bible, and just perpetuating this I'm one with the universe bends to my will kind of worldview, it is anti-Christian, aka anti-Christ. So it's not something that us Christians should even give 2 seconds of thought to, unless it's to think about telling somebody why they shouldn't participate in it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you do that in the book and you explain really well uh, for the reason you shouldn't be involved in this, but you explain it for that reason. And I think that's so important to do because a lot of people that aren't in it, they just kind of pass it off and just, and they do this with New Age too. A lot of even Christians will just say, "Oh, that's just silly." Like those are just hippies in Sedona, Arizona. It's like it's that attitude that caused this to grow so big to where now the majority of Christians have New Age beliefs that they don't even know about. They don't even know are New Age and assume are in the Bible, but they're not. You go through some terms in the book too. What's the difference between atheism, theism, pantheism, and panentheism, and how does that tie into the New Age?
Right. So these are important things to know because this is another thing about digging into the roots of what you believe, right? So atheism, and these are going to be very simple, like seventh grade definition. So atheism is just believing that there is no God or that there is nothing beyond the natural world. Another word for it is naturalism. So you just believe in the material world, right? Then you have pantheism, which pantheism is this idea that we are one with the universe, that God is the universe. And since we are in the universe, we are also one with God. So God is this, sound deck. God is this microphone. God is me. God is you, Josh. God is this camera. Everything is God. Then you have panentheism, and there's a difference between strong and weak panentheism. I'm going to focus on the strong panentheism. So strong panentheism it's really close to being pantheism, which is why it sounds the same. But instead of us being one with the universe, which it essentially says that we are one with the universe, it says that we are an extension or a manifestation of the universe. So we are God, but God is still a little bit greater than us. It depends on who you're talking to on which definition you're going to get, right? But it's very similar, especially in the New Thought and New Age worldview. It's more New Thought than New Age. It's very similar to pantheism because, look, New Age equals pantheism, New Thought equals strong panentheism. So what I've noticed is that they go back and forth when they're trying to pitch you on the law of attraction or their worldview. If they're talking to a Christian, they'll most likely lean into like panentheistic language, New Thought terminology. If they're talking to your regular everyday person, they're going to just lean into the pantheistic worldview because you don't know any better, right? So that's what they assume. Then you have theism, which is what me and you and most of your listeners probably believe in, which is that God is separate from his creation. So he is timeless, spaceless, immaterial, and he sits outside of time, space, and matter, right? So separate from his creation. And then you have Jesus, who is essentially the bridge between the creation and the creator, who is God himself, and is the only way that we can, I don't like using the word bridge, but for lack of better term, that's what we believe, is that the only way you can put these two things together or that the world will be redeemed is through Christ, right? That's the only way. And what pantheism and panentheism likes to do is, as I said, equate God with the universe and remove Jesus from the equation as well. He's just like some sort of ascended master who realized that he was God, and therefore he was sent to help you realize that you're God as well. Completely anti-biblical.
Yeah, because when you read throughout the Bible, there's nothing in there even remotely like that. But what they'll do is they'll pick and choose verses here and there, knowing that most people aren't going to go and read it for themselves, which is why on this show, I mean, it's literally called the Sharpening Report. We really encourage people to get into your Bible and understand what it says. So when these deceptions come, you'll be prepared. And another avenue that they use towards trying to deceive people too is science. And you get into science in your book as well. How have you seen science hijacked by New Age and law of attraction proponents?
Well, I would say they hijack like every part of science that they possibly can, right? Anytime a scientist says something that could remotely be reworded as New Age or New Thought or law of attraction sounding, they will take it and run with it. And therefore, I have a whole section in my book called false claiming. They'll claim that what somebody said means they believed in the law of attraction. Then when you just dig a little bit deeper, you realize that what they were saying has absolutely nothing to do with the law of attraction. So one thing that they do is when it comes to pantheism, right, they try to use quantum physics as a way to show that we are one with the universe. They try to, use the observer effect and the double slit experiment. And I know I'm saying things that most people have no idea what they are. But if you're talking to a New Ager who's deep in it, they know what you're saying. But they try to use that and say, so let's just talk about the observer effect real quick. And I know you've done a lot of work on this stuff. So the observer effect essentially states that in order for this sound deck to exist, something conscious has to be observing it. If something conscious is not observing it, the sound deck therefore does not exist, right? So they use the double slit experiment, and they use the fact that when you have an observer present, and the observer doesn't have to be a human, by the way, it could just be a measurement device, but when an observer is present, waves and particles, they just act differently when an observer is present. So they take that observation and they interpret it to mean, therefore, if you're not looking at it, it doesn't exist. And if you think about it in your mind, you can make it exist, and you can create reality with your thoughts and your words. Like they make a quantum leap, we could say, from this observation to this interpretation that the majority of quantum physicists do not agree with at all. And here's the thing. Whenever you hear someone say, oh yeah, quantum physics proves the law of attraction, just simply ask them, oh yeah, which theory? All right, so if that theory proves the law of attraction, can you tell me why the other theories don't?
Yeah.
And why those interpretations are wrong? Can you write it out for me? Can you do the mathematics on that for me and write it out and show me and compare and contrast which one proves the law of attraction, which one? They can't. You can't. I can't. The reason we can't is because we are not quantum physicists, all right? Less than 1% of all PhD graduates graduate in something quantum, right? And this is not like me throwing shade. This is just facts. It's difficult to understand. Even Richard Feynman said, who's one of the fathers of modern understanding of quantum physics, he says that I think we can, and this is me paraphrasing, but I think it can be safely said that no one understands quantum physics, right? Like when you think you understand it, he knows you don't understand it. And that's a paraphrase. I have the direct quote in my book, but I'm not smart enough to remember quotes off the top of my head. That's why I don't make claims into saying that I know how to interpret all of the different variations of quantum theory, right? So that's one way. Right. And then, because of that, using the pantheistic worldview, they just try to say that we are one with the universe. They shoot themselves in the foot because we just have a ridiculous amount of evidence showing that this universe had a beginning. And I go through a lot of it in my book, pointing to why scientists believe the universe had a beginning. So here's the thing. If the universe had a beginning, it's not infinite. Like I don't know how that is so difficult to comprehend. If it had a beginning, it's not infinite. It had a beginning. Also, the second law of thermodynamics shows that it will have an end. So we are living in a finite universe. It's not abundant. It may be vast. It may be like mind-blowingly vast, but in comparison to God, it's just this little tiny thing. right? So, but to us, we think that because it's vast, therefore it's infinite. But I think that that's misunderstanding the definition of infinity.
Yeah, I totally agree, and that's something that I've written about as well. And I've used the example. We exist in a percentage of the universe. Just the fact that there's a percentage means it can't be infinite, because what's 1% of infinity? It's still infinity. So it just logically it
Yeah.
breaks down there. It has to all of creation has to be finite to some level. And what's interesting too is science can actually show evidence for God when it's properly understood. And you brought up something that you learned from Frank Turek, the SURGE acronym. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so the SURGE acronym, this is for the scientific evidence that points to the beginning of the universe. And S stands for the second law of thermodynamics, in which, we kind of just discussed usable energy is transferring into non-usable energy. Therefore, the universe is running out of usable energy, and when it runs out, it will die, right? The U is for the universe is expanding from a single point in the past. This was discovered by the Edwin Hubble, right? I believe I'm saying his name correctly. Then you have the R, which is the radiation from the Big Bang that they see. Then you have the G, which is the great galaxy seeds, which confirmed the it's like called radio wave background something, right? Like I'm this is so this is why I like emphasize, guys, that when somebody talks about science, they don't know what they're talking. I'm a layperson, right? I'm grabbing information from experts and putting this into the book so that way lay people like me can understand it, right? So, but then you have E, which is Einstein's theory of general relativity, which states that time, space, and matter are correlative. They come into existence at the same time, right? So you can't have one without the other. All of this points to the beginning of the universe. So therefore, if the universe is time, space, and matter, right? Whatever created it has to sit outside of time, space, and matter, because you go into the law of causality. Everything that begins to exist has a cause, right? So if the universe began to exist, what caused the universe to exist? It has to be something outside of the universe, right? Spaceless, timeless, immaterial, powerful, and I believe it has to be personal to make the decision to create everything that we see. And that lines up with the God that we find in the Bible. So I know I just said a whole lot of stuff, but that's essentially what I go through in my book. Much better than I said it right now.
No, that's great. That's really helpful, and that's what I really like about your book too. Is when people read your book, you write the way that you talk. I mean, it's really easy to understand, but it's packed with information, and people are going to get a lot out of it. So science, when it's understood properly, it shows us that there is a God, while New Age promises that you can be like God, which is just the same lie from the garden, isn't it?
Yep. It definitely is. And it's just, that's what they tease you with. The law of attraction, I feel like, is just everything that you could want, right? If you go through how the serpent or the devil tempted Eve, he one made her question God's authority, questioning God's authority. He made her drag somebody else into it, right? Adam, which if you dig into it, the NIV says she gave to her husband who was with her. So you can infer that Adam was there for the whole entire exchange between her and the devil, but still she grabbed she grabbed him to be a part of it, which is what the law of attraction does. It makes you want to grab people to be a part of it. So you're bringing other people into this deception. And then it gives you this idea that you can be more and have more. And in Eve's case, it's knowledge, it's wisdom, the knowledge of good and evil, and you can be like God. So she could have more knowledge and she could be like the creator of the universe, right? And this is what the law of attraction does too. It says you can not only have whatever you want, but you can not only be like God, but in fact you are God. And it paints this in a way that is so enticing, and so, especially in such a depraved world where we are just seeking validation, and we're riddled with mental health issues and depression, and we're just looking for somebody to validate us, which is why I think the law of attraction appeals to people as well, because it's focuses on the positive. And I think that focusing on the positive is a good thing to do. But it's not a good thing to do if you're focusing on the positive because you think you're one with the universe, and therefore you're going to attract everything that you're thinking about. And the only reason that you're thinking positively is so you can get something materially out of it, right? So I know I just went down a rabbit hole, but I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, definitely. And don't worry about that. I am the king of rabbit holes. My audience is very familiar with that, so not a problem. You have
Awesome.
and to really speak about how dangerous this is, and it's not just some silly little belief that we can ignore. You have a part in your book where you go into some accounts of people who believed in the law of attraction so heavily that it actually led to their deaths. Can you tell us about some of those?
Yeah, so there's a few incidents just that I go through in my book, but one of them being Kathy Goodman. And Kathy Goodman is in The Secret. She's in the chapter on health, in how you can use the law of attraction to manifest perfect health. This is where you find the section of you can eat whatever you want as long as you don't think fat thoughts, right? So Kathy Goodman was diagnosed with breast cancer, and what she did was she law of attraction her way into full and complete health, right? And in The Secret, they have her give her testimony of how, I believe it was just a couple months after being diagnosed with breast cancer, she was now breast cancer free. And when I first heard this story, I got really excited because I have stomach issues that, are they disturb my life so much. Like they cause a lot of issues for me, right? And when I heard this and I'm like, she healed breast cancer? I could definitely heal my stomach issues with the law of attraction. So I believed that wholeheartedly. Little did I know was that just a few years after she had given her testimony in The Secret, she died of breast cancer. So here she is telling millions of people, and this not, I don't want to pin this on Kathy, right? This is somebody using Kathy's testimony to make sales. That's essentially what it is. So they used her, and then she died of, after telling millions of people that you can heal yourself with your thoughts. She went and died of the thing that she told you could heal yourself from, and nobody says anything about it. I searched the internet far and wide. You can't find anything from Rhonda. You can't find anything from any of the LOA gurus out there. You can't find it at all, right? And she's still in The Secret. She's still promoting this, and she's still dead. So it's just, that's one way. Then you have, which is why I titled the book Law of Attraction, A Gateway Drug to Spiritual Heroin, is because the law of attraction is just a gateway into New Age spirituality. That's all that it is. I think that it's detrimental in and of itself, but it's kind of just, I say this in the book, that it's just the first bite into the forbidden fruit, right? And this opens up a doorway of spiritual highs that you're going to go chasing for decades to come, right? So you have James Arthur Ray, who contributed to The Secret as well. He does these like spiritual warrior retreats, and he does more seminars than I can count, right? And in doing those, he had this one seminar in which he did a sweat lodge experience. Now, for those of you who don't know what that is, it's just a lodge that is designed to make you sweat. It's something that indigenous people in the Americas that they did as part of their spirituality. So you do it in order to have a spiritual experience. Now, this is supposed to be overseen by somebody who is qualified and certified in hosting sweat lodge experiences, meaning somebody from that spirituality, from the indigenous spirituality, who is a certified elder in this specific realm is supposed to be present, because otherwise it can be dangerous. Well, James Arthur Ray completely ignored that fact. He put together a makeshift sweat lodge, and he invited people in. People paid $10,000 each to come to this spiritual warrior retreat 3 of them died in the sweat lodge. He did 2 years for negligent homicide. Then he comes out and he's still doing courses and seminars and selling, Zoom seminars for $1,000. There's even one thing where you could pay, I think, up to $10,000 a year for a lifetime of coaching. So this is how much these people care about you. They have people die in their documentaries. They have people die in their spiritual warrior retreats, and then they just continue to sell you the stuff that killed people. So they don't care about you at all. They just care about you being funneled into their sales funnel.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because we see that in all areas of life. Anywhere that people can make a buck off of the lives of others, they will. What would you say about people who actually claim that they have become successful using the law of attraction? How would you respond to those people?
So there's a few reasons why I go through this in my book, in one of the later chapters, of people who become successful and then attribute their success to the law of attraction. So I, being in the network marketing space for so long, I saw so many people go from nothing, like literally broke, to multimillionaire, and then attribute their success to the law of attraction. And I'm like, hold on, man, hold on. I watched you drive all around the East Coast doing 12 presentations a day, leaving your kids and wife at home, doing presentation after presentation, flying to the other side of the country to go do the same thing on that coast, and then flying back, and then promoting people from your team to come to the trainings. And you literally worked 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for like 5 years straight. Then you make $1 million and you say law of attraction. Like, if you just look at the lives of some of the most successful people, worldly successful people, and who are promoting the law of attraction, if you look at their lives, it's not because of the law of attraction. It's because they worked their butt off. Like, they worked around the clock. Now, I think that one of the issues is that because since the law of attraction teaches you to focus on what you want and not look left and not look right, that is something you need in order to be successful in anything. It's good, practically speaking, if you want to be a boxer, a world-class champion boxer, you have to focus solely on boxing, and just your life is nothing else but boxing in order to get that done, right? That's not the law of attraction. That's you focusing on your goals and doing the work that you have to do in order to accomplish those goals, right? Then there's another reason why I believe this happens, and it's a more spiritual reason, right? So if the devil only really cares about getting people to not believe in Jesus Christ, he just cares about getting as much people to go to hell with him as possible. You have to understand, we like to think that the devil equals blatantly satanic stuff. That's what we think. Blatantly negative stuff. Blatantly evil stuff, like the wars going on in the world, the children dying. We're like, that's got to be the devil. But we forget that the devil masquerades as an angel of light. So he will give you and being the God of this age or the God of this world, right? Look, God has total sovereignty over everything, but the devil's on a leash right now, and he still has some say as to what goes on in this world. And don't misrepresent what I'm saying by saying that he has some say. We just don't know, for whatever reason, God's got him on a leash right now, but still allowing him to do things to an extent, right? So if he truly is the God of this world, then he can give you the worldly desires of your heart as long as you worship everything but the one true God. So I do believe that there's a spiritual aspect to it, because now you have, look, we chase success, especially in the West. We idolize successful people, and we think that because they're successful, that makes them experts in everything. So what they'll do is they'll be successful, and then they'll push Christianity off to the side, or say that they're Christian and just have this like lip service Christianity, and then go teach you all these occult practices and law of attraction things and attribute their success to that. And now, because we idolize people like this, we believe in it, and this is how the devil props people up to then use them as tools to deceive the masses, because we're going to believe what these successful celebrities and entrepreneurs, we're going to believe what they're saying because we want what they have. And so we're going to do the law of attraction stuff. We're going to open all these spiritual doors without realizing we're opening them. And we're going to go all in on whatever these successful people are telling us. And the devil is using his demons to play us like pawns and keep us engulfed in this chasing wealth and chasing fame and chasing the lifestyle of these people that we're idolizing. And so I do believe that there's a spiritual aspect to it, in which the devil is essentially giving you everything that you want so he can keep you away from the one thing that you need, which is Jesus, right? So I believe those are some aspects of why people are successful as well. And then you just have to look at the practical thing that I touched on before of, when you, in my case, when I started believing in the law of attraction, I became a much more positive person. So I was super negative. Now I'm super positive. That's going to have an effect in my life. More people are going to want to do business with me because I'm not as negative. I'm not a party pooper, a Debbie Downer. People are going to want to do business with me. So since I changed that aspect of myself and started focusing on the positive, I'm essentially more attractive, but not in the attracting things from the universe type way. Just I'm easier to do business with. I'm easier to be around, and therefore I'm bettering my chances of having success and getting the worldly things that I think the law of attraction is giving me, right? So that's why I believe, and that's just a few of the reasons why I believe it seems to work for some people. But then that you have to dive back into the scammy aspect of it, because you then have this one group of people who only makes money off of selling you that you can attract everything from the universe, right? So if you look into the contributors of just The Secret, like 90% of them aren't doing anything else except selling law of attraction, manifestation, spiritual courses, books, DVDs, and audio books and seminars. And they're not doing anything else except selling you that you can attract abundance from the universe. Meanwhile, they're not attracting abundance from the universe. They're just attracting money from your wallet into their bank account by telling you that you can attract things from the universe if you just buy their course, listen to their audiobook, et cetera, right? So you have that aspect, especially people who are die hard, only thing they talk about is law of attraction, and then you just look that they're selling you courses on it. Of course they're going to attribute their success to the law of attraction, because the only way that they can remain successful is if you buy it from them. So there's a whole bunch of reasons that I believe that it works for people. It's just, you got to just think logically about this.
Yeah, totally. And it makes a lot of sense. There's a lot more that we could talk about, but I don't want to give the entire book away because I really want people to pick up this book. But before we tell people how to do that, what do you want most for people to take away from our discussion tonight?
I'm assuming that most of the people listening to your channel are already Christians, but I want to focus on the people who are not, just in case you ended up here because you saw law of attraction and you're just checking out what it is we're saying. And if you're not a believer and you made it this far, that's incredible. Awesome. You're here for a reason. I just want to say that all of the stuff that the law of attraction gurus promise you is just empty. It's chasing the wind. It's never going to fulfill you, right? Ecclesiastes says that God has placed eternity on the hearts of men, on the hearts of us people. He's placed it there. If we continuously try to fill what's set on the eternal with anything temporal, we're never going to be satisfied. The only thing that can satisfy what is set on the eternal is something from the eternal, someone who is eternal, and that someone is Jesus. He's the only way you're going to satisfy what you're seeking. And you're going to learn that what you're seeking, it means nothing once you have Jesus. So I just would say that if you don't take anything else away from this discussion, just look into who Jesus is. Look into the free gift of salvation that he offers people like you and me, undeserving people like you and me, and just look into the truth claims. I go through them in the last chapter of my book. I go into a little, I break down what brought me to believing in Christianity. I consolidated it, but there's evidence out there. These Gurus who tell you that there is no truth, that's a lie. There is truth, and he is a person, Jesus Christ. So I would say that. And then if you are a Christian who is listening to this, it's important to get educated on this stuff because it can help your witness when you run into somebody who you hear speaking this type of new age or new thought or law of attraction language. It's not to jump down their throats and be like, that's demonic, that's this. They're not going to hear you if you're doing that. It's an open door to have communication with them if you know what they believe. So you can find some common ground in knowing what they believe and then express why you don't believe in it and just plant a seed that God can water. So that's what I would leave people with.
Amen. And I am in complete agreement with that. Where can people pick up your book and follow you online?
So you can get it on Amazon. It's Audible. So if you have enjoyed listening to my voice this whole entire time, you can listen to it for 5 hours on Audible.
Awesome.
It's also at Barnes and Noble, not the store, but online. You can get physical copies from Amazon, but you can get digital copies from like Barnes and Noble. Pretty much anywhere that sells digital copies, you can get it from there.
Awesome. And then if people want to follow you online, I know you're active on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. What are all of your links so people can check out some more of your materials?
Yeah, so at J Clash on Instagram and Twitter or X, now that it's changed. Then you have just Jon Clash on YouTube, Jon Clash. Don't put JOHN because then Clash of Clans comes up. And then you can find me. We just started a YouTube channel called the Why Jesus Network, where it's just a bunch of Christians from different denominations talking about Christianity and things that are going on in the world through a Christian worldview and disagreeing with each other in a very nice way.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, that sounds awesome. I love it. Well, I highly suggest everybody watching, pick up the book, check out Jon's stuff online. There's a lot there that'll keep you busy, keep you informed, and even entertained for hours and hours. Jon, thank you so much for coming on the program. It's always good talking with you.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to do it again soon sometime. And thank all of you at home for joining us tonight on another episode of The Sharpening Report. If you haven't had a chance, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, turn on all notifications so you know when we put up new content. And until next time, love you all. Take care and God bless. Now, I've always been passionate about bringing truth to the forefront, and now more than ever, our Christian community needs a platform to discuss these pressing issues openly. There's no denying that we live in a time when censorship quickly has become the norm. We've all seen it, voices silenced and crucial topics skirted around, especially when they blend biblical truths with politics or current events. But what if we could actually change that narrative? If not for the world, at least in our community here that we hold dear. And by community, I don't even mean I mean our community here online, you and me and everybody watching. So I mentioned before, I'm teaming up with my good friend Zach Drew. Many of you might remember him from the Jim Baker Show. Zach's heart for the Lord and the gospel is immense, yet despite his dedication, the limitations of working within a 501c3 for the Zach Drew Show, it's restricted the breadth of his message. Biblical truths and political events are directly relevant to our faith, and we're compelled to avoid discussing these things. And this is by other Christians. This is by Christians within the 501c3 construct. That's where our vision for Daily Renegade comes in. Now, Daily Renegade, it's not just another video streaming service. It's really a movement. It's a subscription-based video streaming platform combined with a vibrant social media community. So imagine being a part of a space where there's absolute freedom to discuss the Bible, politics, and current events without the looming shadow of censorship. And you get one place for everything. So you don't have to do YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, and you don't have to do all these. All of it is in one place. And And again, without censorship. Our dream is for Daily Renegade to host shows such as the Sharpening Report, which you're watching now, the Zach Drew podcast, which is going to be a new thing we'll be launching, Peck Perspective, which is a show that I've been doing for the Paul Revere Report, but we want to switch it over, and even more enlightening content in the future. So this is more than just entertainment. It's an opportunity for growth, connection, and really spiritual edification, which I think we all need a lot more than we're able to get with our online communities. Because many of you say you can't talk about this stuff in your home church, so you have to go online or you have to go to conferences. Well, conferences can be expensive, and they're great, but they're expensive and they only happen a couple times a year. You know, you need something that you can go anytime you need it. And that's what we're trying to make for everybody, for all of you, for us, and so we can all have access to that. So one feature that we're really thrilled about is the Renegade Report, and this will be a continually updated newsletter that's seamlessly integrated into Daily Renegade, right into the website. Plus, our envisioned community space will function like a blend of Facebook and Telegram, allowing all members to post, comment, and truly connect with each other and with us. Also, our videos will come with downloadable PDFs that include the show notes for that episode, including content we just could not fit into the show. But, you know, dreams and goals are great, and especially ones of this magnitude, but they require support. So to ensure that we offer the best experience and that this venture stands the test of time, Zach and I need to raise $25,000, and this amount will cover the essential web development costs, marketing, app creation. We are getting apps. We're getting phone apps for iOS and Android, and we're getting a TV app for Roku. We want to develop all that, and vital equipment for our brand new shows. So Zach and I have been blessed with the trust of many within the Christian media company. We are very familiar with Christian media. This is our bread and butter. We know the space. We know the good in it, and we know areas that definitely need to be improved. And we want to bring all of that in. We deeply believe that, and also we both have years and years and years of trust built into that community. So we deeply believe that Daily Renegade is our most effective way to serve Jesus Christ and the church in this age, in these end times that we're living in right now. And this is our chance together to reclaim our voice in a world where it's increasingly under threat. So if you feel led, and pray about it, but if you feel led, please support this endeavor at givesendgo.com/dailyrenegade. And even if you cannot contribute financially, your prayers for this project are invaluable. With faith and unity, we can pave the way for a brighter, uncensored future in Christian media. So that link again is givesendgo.com/dailyrenegade, and you can find it in the description of this video below. If you've tuned into my YouTube shows or anything Daily Renegade related, or even just read the signs of our times, then you know that we live in a season of undeniable economic instability. It is rough. We're all feeling it. Now, while I firmly believe in the promises of the Lord, I also recognize the importance of being responsible stewards of the resources that He has blessed us with. Now, in Revelation 6, the Black Horse prophecy speaks of times when economic hardships will be absolutely rampant. And while some may see the troubling economic indicators today as only coincidence, they are actually potential birth pangs, heralding this more significant Black Horse crisis. Now, I totally believe in the pre-trib rapture, and if you don't, that is totally fine. I'm so glad you're here. We love you, and I this is something that I don't ever fight about. And people here at Daily Renegade don't fight about it either. So if you're mid, pre, wrath, post, that is totally fine. We're all Christians. We all love each other. But I do believe in the pre-trib rapture. But let's not forget, I do not use that as an excuse that we shouldn't be prepared. I'm not one of these, well, I'm not gonna get any like survival food or anything in case the grid goes down, because my hope is in the Lord's promise that we're gonna be out of here before then. Well, let's not forget, let's pump the brakes here. Let's not forget that believers, Christians, still lived through the Great Depression. No rapture saved them from those trying times. There have always been famines, and there have always been times of plenty. And that there's no saying that that's going to go away. So we do need to be prepared. We are in an economic downfall right now, and we need to protect what God has blessed us with. We need to be good stewards with what we have. We need to store up for the drought, for the famine. So our responsibility is not only to await Christ's return, but to wisely safeguard God's provisions for ourselves and for our children and grandchildren while we are still here, because we do not know when He's returning. So this brings me to a significant point about our current financial system: currency versus real money. Now, while widely used, our dollar is just a currency subject to inflation and the whims of global markets. It's easily manipulated. It's not real money in the way that God-given silver is, things that God gave us. So to illustrate, if you kept $1,000 in cash since the late 1960s, say you took $1,000, you put it under your bed, now inflation would have eroded its purchasing power drastically. You would have $1,000 today, but you won't be able to buy as much with that $1,000 today than you could have back in 1960. Now, here's the difference. If you had invested that $1,000 in silver in the 1960s during that same period, if you said, okay, I got my stack of $100 bills here, I'm going to go buy some silver, and you put that under your bed or in a safe or wherever, today that would be worth $28,000. Amazing. So it retains the purchasing power of the time that it's in. Now, this is the power and stability of actual assets like silver, our God-given precious metals. God gave us this stuff for a reason. God didn't necessarily give us dollar bills, but He gave us silver. He gave us gold. And there's some issues. There's still some issues with gold, just with markets and things. So for me, I think, you can by all means go for gold, but I think silver is, for me, just a little bit more safe and stable. Not anything to do with the metal itself. It's just there's been times in the past where the government has confiscated gold, and it's been a whole ordeal. But there's a protection on silver. Anyway, so how can we make a wise choice in these uncertain times? Well, we can do that by converting your savings, your retirement funds, 401ks, anything that you have saved, your assets, into silver. And there's even a discreet way that if you want, you can get this metal shipped to your doorstep, or you can have it protected in a secure facility provided by the same people supplying you with the silver. And more fascinating is that many don't realize they can convert their IRAs or 401ks into physical silver, and that totally avoids the pitfalls of this volatile fiat system that is vulnerable to hyperinflation and is getting worse by the day. Now, of all the choices available, there's really only one company that I've entrusted with my personal investments in this regard, and it is our brothers and sisters in Christ. This is a Christian-led place, the Christian-led Cornerstone Asset Metals. Now, I've experienced their integrity and expertise firsthand throughout the years. And I believe that when the storms hit our economy, those of us who chose to invest in silver through our Christian brothers and sisters at Cornerstone will stand firm. They treat this as a ministry. While technically on paper, yeah, it's a business, but they treat this as a ministry. They are here for the church. They are here for you. They're here for me. They know what's coming. The economy is collapsing. It's really, we're in really bad shape, and anything that you have, you would be wise to invest in something stable such as silver. So for your sake and for your family's sake, I urge you to visit cornerstoneassetmetals.com. Again, I have worked with these guys for years. They are top notch, and this is why I do not endorse a whole lot of things on this channel. I do get a lot of offers. I do get a lot of people saying, hey, will you promote this product on your show? I get that a lot, and I say no to 99% of them. Because, for one thing, I need a few years to be with a company and work with them to see how they are before I'm going to subject you guys to it. Because if I don't, what if they're scammers? I can't, I can't do that to you guys, and I don't want to do it to myself. But I feel that the Lord has put a responsibility on me towards you guys, and I need to know at least as best as I can that the people I'm suggesting, or the companies that I suggest, or the ministries that I suggest are trustworthy. So that's why I don't promote a whole lot of companies or even other ministries or anything like that on the show, outside of like interviewing somebody for a book or something. But when it comes to something this heavy, I just don't do it. But with Cornerstone Asset Metals, I have been working with them for years. If there were any red flags, I firmly believe they would have come up by now. They are really good brothers and sisters in Christ. They have taken care of me really well when I invest with them. And by the way, we've even worked together so closely that if they wanted to, they could have ripped me off pretty easily. And they are just not that, like, at all. I can't say the same for every other gold and silver company out there because I don't know. This is one I can say for as absolutely sure as I can possibly be on this side of eternity. They are legit. They are absolutely the real thing, and they will treat you right. CornerstoneAssetMetals.com. Click on the link in the description below this video, and you can request your free silver report. So there's no, there's no, you don't have to promise to do anything right away. Just get a free silver report. They're not going to be pushy with you. They're going to talk with you, and they're going to see like what your needs are. They'll help you. And also, please remember to tell them that Josh Peck sent you. This actually does help out a lot because it tells them who of my audience they have and where people just come in just kind of out of nowhere. They really do prefer to work with Christians because they can better help Christians because they are Christians, So tell them that Josh Peck from Daily Renegade sent you. If you're doing it online, there's a little space, a drop-down menu that you can click on that. That does help out a lot because we do work closely together. And that does help me out too. So their financial experts are ready to guide you, and they're not pushy. I promise. These are brothers in Christ. They're not going to push you or anything, but they are ready to guide you on the best protective measures for your savings in these turbulent times. They are truly providing a ministry effort here in these prophetic times of economic collapse. So once again, Cornerstone Asset Metals. Check the link below and tell them Josh Peck sent you. Let's be wise, prepared, and above all, trust in the Lord while being responsible stewards of the treasures He has granted us.